Okay, cool. So I've done 24 of these camps, and the overwhelming response I've gotten in the last like dozen camps is there's too many basic classes, right? And so the reality is the camp app now shows us stats of who's here, and the white belts are always in the minority. We always have a heavy population of dark colored belts. In Maine, we had 41 black belts and 28 white belts. So we're going to try to give a more advanced class. I think the reality is if you guys have done Berimbolo or like Kiss the Dragon, it's probably going to be still pretty basic for you. And so the goal is to kind of push it a little bit and see how far we can go. And so what I want to do first is get warmed up by giving you guys a little like tongue twister, a little body brain twister type thing. And we're just going to go from saddle to a back take. But the deal is I'm going to show it twice. So I'm going to show it once at like a moderate speed and then once pretty slow, and that's it. And it's your job to get a partner, find a spot on the mat, and try to unwind it and see if you can figure it out. If you can't, you have to leave the class. But it's going to be kind of a prereq for what's going to happen later on, right? And so here it is. We're going to go from inside Sankaku saddle, honey hole, whatever you want to call it, right? I'm going to grab my opponent's lap. I'm going to roll back. I'm going to crab ride. Go back to it, okay? So that was moderate speed. We'll go a little bit slower. Yeah, that's you too. Find a partner, go play with it. Okay, if you can do it, raise your hand. You got to the back, even if it was ugly. Yeah. Oh, fuck. All right, if you... Yeah, I can't ask anymore. That's just terrible. So, no, but the whole point, right? There are things that I do from a gymnastics background that are more focused on getting your body moving the correct way and less about being literal jujitsu, okay? So the odds of this working, I think, in a real match are pretty low. I guess a scenario in which a guy has very good leg lock defense and you're kind of frustrated at the end of the match, you go to it. But the reality is it's meant to be a brain teaser, okay? And once you unlock it, it's actually really easy to do. But unlocking it is hard because our brain sees it in a funny way. That's why I like it so much. So I did it once at Zen Camp at the end of a seminar. I thought it'd be very, very good to get us warmed up that way because the rest of what we're going to do today is relatively easy, but it tends to be visually confusing, okay? Your tactile response when you actually do it becomes much more easy to do. And so I'm going to give you guys lots of time to play with these ideas on your own. My details won't necessarily work for everybody else. And so I'm going to show you guys broad brush strokes. And then it's your job with your training partner to go out there and figure out how to make it work, okay? Let's talk about inside spiral or reverse daily hiva. It's a position that I use a lot. Recently, a lot of guys have gotten away from it because of the counter bolo game and the counter leg lock game. And I think that there's a couple of details that make it back to be effective again, okay? And so basically, this top side leg, my secondary leg, is gonna be the leg that's in danger of being countered for either toe holds or anything else from the top side position, right? But I'm gonna hide it now. Instead, I'm on top in front of their shin. Okay, this does two things. This allows me to focus more on elongating my opponent's leg and less about getting underneath their hips. Okay, so traditionally in a gi game, I want to be close to the hips so I can invert really close to her middle section and grab the gi here and then play the back take game from there. The problem is in no gi, we don't have a belt to grab onto or the back of the jacket. And so it gets modified incredibly. And it becomes for me either a get up, kind of like a wrestle up position, or it becomes a leg lock entry. Okay, so today's focus is going to be leg lock entries. So we're going to play this from a combat base today, and it's going to get progressively more challenging. But for now, it's going to be a pretty easy combat base, just like this. I'm going to go inside spiral, make sure I have good connection. If I'm flat on my butt, I cannot connect my toes to her. So I go all the way inside, and I'm playing here. This hand, really, really important, right? Our body will always follow our hands, right? So back up real quick. So if I want to jump like a broad jump, I hold my hands to the ceiling, I don't go very far. Make sense? So I go, that's weird, right? Your body follows your hands. If I want to do a backflip, my body follows my hands, right? And so, like, it's called a set, right? So in gymnastics, we call it a set. So our body will follow our hands. If our hands do the wrong thing on an inversion, our whole body will become super out of alignment, and it makes the inversion really challenging. You're next, Benny. Let's go. So, all right, so my hands, my inside spiral control arm, my right arm is gonna go palm away from her and then palm towards her in this motion. This motion will elevate my hips really naturally, right? So I have inside spiral. My hand goes back of my hand to her shin, and it automatically pulls me around the more I turn my thumb to the floor. Okay? Really important concept here. This arm, if I use my arm on the mat to elevate my butt, I'll have instant gratification of elevating my butt, then I'm stuck. Okay? This is where our set comes in. Our hands are gonna do the exact same thing. And we dive it through. This is two really cool things. Turn it a little bit. One, it protects my head from being cross-faced. Right? If I frame on her here and dive underneath, she's gonna cross-face me and kill this. When I have a set here, it protects my head, so I'm putting my ear on my bicep, right? This really helps me defend against the crossface. I can't chill here because I can get choked, but this is where I'm gonna be temporarily. So inside spiral, leg on the shin, hands gonna set, and all what you guys to do is smack your opponent in the butt. Yeah? And then rewind it. It's all like 10% of the technique right there. Just loading in. Hand comes under, palm to the floor, right? Get in there, rewind it, reset. Make sense? Let's start there, and then we'll add on pretty quickly from there. Cool, ready? Okay, we're gonna move pretty quickly, okay? And so if you're lost on the inside spiral position, then we have an uphill battle to go, okay? But it's important we cater to some of the guys who can manage this stuff right away. And so if I go past you guys, if I approach you any longer and the first part is way, way, way off, I'm gonna skip you and help somebody else, okay? Because it's important that our upper belts get a chance to learn. And so I want you guys to keep coming to the classes, it's fine. I will do my best to help you guys, but anything past this inside spiral position, I can't help the first part of the class any longer. Make sense? Is that fair? Okay, cool. So, inside spiral. We're playing from a combat base, but it can happen from a lower base. This is fine too, okay? So we have this kind of dilemma we're trying to impose on our opponent here. They can either have a tightly bent front leg, keeping the front leg from being attacked, or they can extend far away from me and keep their back safe, okay? So kiss the dragon is typically gonna be a back take technique, especially in the gi, but it can happen in no gi also. And so I wanna try to make them commit to defending the back take. And so if she's pressuring into me, I'm gonna be framing away from her. There, now the leg's a little bit longer. So now, instead of having to lift her whole body off the mat, she can keep her left butt cheek attached to her left heel. I'm not elevating her at all. I'm going under the lightweight leg here, right? So I'm diving the same thing underneath, and there's very, very little weight here, okay? So now our legs are already in an X position. All I have to do is slide them down her body to catch her outside leg, okay? So I'm gonna end up in backside reverse X. So I slide down. Here. Okay, we're on backside reverse X. So a little bit faster, and give me a taller base this time. I can see it better. Right there. Yeah, so I'd like you guys to try one thing for me. Make sure you can capture the outside leg with your left hand or your backside hand. That means I'm deep enough on it. And then everything we do today, rewind it, okay? If you can play in reverse, then you really understand what's happening. So I'm gonna invert back through, and I'm back to the beginning. So, dive. My feet are already in an X. I'm just gonna slide down. Nice and neat. All right, and play from here. Remember, we're catching the backside leg. Doesn't matter how tall they are. My hips should be close enough. If I get too active with my legs, I'll push them out of the technique, right? This is a great opportunity for our lower belts or our people who just can't comprehend what's happening to understand the value of actually extending away and just coming up from here, okay? It's not wrong to drill that the rest of the hour, okay? But one step farther, let's end in backside reverse X. Cool? Let's do it. Ready? My goal was to have this much accomplished by 12:30, and we're right there. I do want to take a couple minutes just to answer any questions and talk about one thing. But first off, any questions? Any troubles? You're liars. Yes?
I'm struggling to generate momentum in the
yeah, you're huge. It's like moving a freight train. I'm like a Volkswagen Bug. I just go. All right, no. So the big thing is how our arms move. Okay, it's funny. We will absolutely follow very easily. So like, it's really hard to do without a person. But if I can do it without a person, I can really master it because I can control the movement. Okay, so if I need to be upside down, I have to throw this arm. If my core is tight here and everything's clenched, my body will follow my hand. Okay, but if I set and I relax my body, then my arm goes and my legs stay behind. That's when people make the mistake of moving their secondary leg kind of like a windmill to get generation of power, or they step to the floor to elevate. That opens up some terrible, terrible things, right? So your ability to stay connected with your core, keeping your knees to your chest. My lower legs are completely inactive. There's no muscular tension here at all. My hips are very tight. My core is very tight. So I rotate by going thumbs both to the floor, and I set my arm over. And I elevate very easily. Right? Now this arm, which was my setting arm, isn't gonna grab her, right? If it's fabric, same idea. If I grab, I'm actually gonna flare my elbow in some way, and that stops me from going where I need to go. So I dive my arm deeper and deeper and deeper until my lat pull gives me her leg, okay? And so, shadowing techniques is a very great way to learn it, as long as your brain works the right way. It's easy for us to do a shadow technique, and like, we end up like melting legs through legs, because our brain has a hard time understanding, and so make sure it's really strict, but it's great to learn how to move. My big thing is, if I can't control my own body, I can't control two bodies, okay? And a lot of us, when I walked around, I said, okay, now move your left leg, and they were like, I am, coach. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. But it's very true, right? We often have a hard time moving our major limbs when we get confused. And so make sure we can control our own body very, very first and foremost. So understanding how sets work is really important for inverted guard. Yeah, so try doing that more. Activate your core, keep nice and tight, strong set through, and it should pull you a little bit easier through, yeah? And then on that same token, the direction in which I travel is 100% contingent upon my set, right? If I set a back foot really high, I go high. If I set it long, I go long. And so if I set this the wrong way, right? So we had a few of us who were trying to grab here. Yeah, this is instant gratification. I can pull myself, but now I'm stuck. Okay, now this is where I have to elbow flare and then move my head and then re-pummel and then come through. That's just way too many steps. This should be pretty lightning fast. Okay, when I decide to go, I go from a frame to an inside. Okay, now this arm never touched her with my palm. The back of the hand carved through, and my lat pull puts me into the correct position. Okay, now I can grab a hold of her. Okay, so the first thing we mentioned was this dilemma of back take or straight leg. So we created a straight leg scenario. She may have created the scenario to avoid the back take. That's okay too. The second dilemma we're gonna play is long front leg or long back leg. Right? If she allows us to extend her front leg like this, all I'm gonna do is switch my grip to the top. I'm gonna grab inside as deep as I can. Let's turn. So I had here, I'm gonna roll, grab here. All right, I still have two hands on the leg. Bottom leg comes out, steps over. Okay, now we're in saddle on the near side leg. What really happens, go back, is the second I remove my secondary leg here, she's already in a good heel hidden position, okay? So I have to expect her to be a good leg lock defender by hiding her heel here. She's doing everything right. So I can't just strictly lace over top and lay flat on my back and be inactive. I'm gonna lose it right away, okay? So right away, I'm swinging my other arm under and I'm chasing the heel. Biggest mistake we see on this gator roll heel chase is I go face down, so roll here. When I go face down, it's a losing battle for me and I have a hard time catching up to her. Okay, usually she's trying to spiral away from me. I'm trying to spiral into her. So the correction we're gonna make here, go to the beginning, is we're gonna gator roll via a Granby roll. So I come here, wait. I grab, I'm gonna go inside this way. Yeah, and so if we're just sitting in saddle here, come back. And she's hiding her heel. This is where we just ended up, okay? Instead of going face down and looking at the heel, I'm gonna go Granby roll in. So keep going, roll. To catch it here. Understand? So, this is the long front leg scenario. Inside spiral. Shin to shin modification. Palm goes in. Our set is never gonna go to the outside. It's gonna try and stay under this leg. If I set towards this leg too much, I go for the back take and I lose the leg, okay? Not always bad, but I wanna play leg locks today, so. Yeah, swim, she rolls. I'm gonna grab me, chase the heel. Understand? Yes. It'll kind of happen at the same time, right? Yeah, yep, and so as I get that meat hook on the inside, she starts to roll. I got to be able to start by Granby roll and pummel at the same time to catch that. Theoretically, I could just Granby with the leg where it was and then attack the heel later. But my goal really is to kind of capture the heel within the Granby roll. No. I think it would happen too quickly. I think I'd be worried about losing the leg. Right? Control of the leg is going to be massively important.
On your Granby roll, a requirement for your upper back to be in contact with the floor? Because I've seen some people do this where maybe the top of their head is their contact point.
Yeah, so whenever I invert, my effort is to have as much of my back on the floor as possible, right? And the reason that is because it takes stress off my neck, right? The second my butt elevates, and what happens is if we have weak or very tight hamstrings, our hamstrings will become so much stronger than our back and our neck. They're very, very strong parts of our body. And so if our hamstrings become very tight, when we go to invert, the pressure goes to our neck. And so a lot of us, if we can't forward fold, then we're gonna have a really hard time with this stuff because this position is very important, right? So when I invert, I stack me, I put my feet to the ground, right? If I can't keep my chin off my chest, I'm always in danger. The second this happens, this is when like the inversion is bad, okay? So I'm long back here, and now I'm fine. And so, but yeah, so your question, but should be down, I think, more as a safety precaution as opposed to like a technical issue. Yeah? But it's going to be contingent upon our flexibility. Yes, Mark? Why would I roll? Because she has to hide her heel. Yeah. So she is starting the heel hide, right? And then I'm initiating the roll over top of it to chase that heel, yeah? And so if I just dig the heel out, that's fine too. If I can meat hook and pull the heel out, then I'll do that. My effort is always to do less, right? And so one of the group over here talked about, if I do this position and they fall to a hip, I just stand up, right? So the whole way, the whole technique, the whole process, I'm not chasing a leg lock, I'm chasing a good position. And so if I can stand up and get on top of you, pass your guard, and turn into a leg drag, I'll do that. If I can finish the heel hook from just an inside position and break from there, I will for sure. But most people are looking to aggressively hide that heel. Then they start doing the back step game and trying to pull their leg out. Yeah? So we're just looking at like, this is where the more technical techniques get hard because if you don't know what the appropriate defense is, then the follow-ups become so muddled. Yeah? Somebody else over here? No?
Can you just show it one more time?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, inside spiral. You can absolutely play here. This is not wrong. I just prefer to come here. Yeah? That help? All right, let's play with it. We're ready? Okay, so that's scenario A, right? Long front leg. A lot of guys know the best way to defend a leg lock is to keep your heel attached to your butt. All right? If my heels are on my butt, you can never leg lock me. All right? Everything we do is a product of getting this off at one point. So in this scenario, we were playing combat base. I did a good job of avoiding the back take by staying away from my opponent, which makes my front leg lighter and longer. But now I know it's in danger. So all I'm gonna do is lean forward on this front leg, keep it safe. I'm gonna crowd into my opponent, okay? So, she doesn't like the back take, so she sits back a little bit, makes the leg longer. Come in here. Now she knows the front leg's in danger. She looks, she crowds in. All I'm gonna do is grab the backside leg and extend. And then saddle on the back leg, all right? This one is something that, well, here's what happens here. And this is a reoccurring theme I see a lot in jiu-jitsu. Our legs get too happy and they start to move too much, okay? My right leg in this scenario is a very minimal elevator, right? It just elevates a little bit. My left leg just straightens and she falls straight into it nice and mellow. If I get overactive, I push her away from me. So I'm doing very little here. So. She crowds in. Look, right leg elevates, left leg straightens. Sitting down. All right. I prefer my saddle to be, I'm very specific when I do it. I want to have my reaping leg matching her spine, and I want to have my bottom side leg hugging her outside hip, like this. All right. I don't prefer a stacked foot unless I'm actually going for the final break part, but even then, if they're my size or smaller, I would try to keep it in this nice tight hug here, where I can control her outside hip and keep her framed with my top side leg, okay? We don't want to pinch our legs here, ever. This gives her access to our arms and our back. So I'm flaring as wide as I possibly can when I land. So try to find this position upside down, and that way you land here, okay? So, one more time. Crowds in. Right, super simple. Don't laugh at that. We got it? Yep. Let's do it, last piece, ready? Everyone's doing a good job. Hey, remember, don't feel the need to do the whole thing, but if you're feeling very advanced, play the whole dilemma all the way through, right? At the last 5 minutes, let's not spar it, but if I feel like I could give you my back, or your opponent's giving them the back, then chase the back for a moment, right? And then go back to the legs and play from there. And then, if you guys want to add it all together to kind of bring the whole seminar full circle, let's go through. Remember, we have two dilemmas we're playing. Jeez. One is the back take, yeah, right? But if I have access to her back, then the goal should be chase the back, yeah? That's the first dilemma. If I get a long front leg, then it becomes the leg lock dilemma. Long front leg saddle. Long back leg saddle. We land in saddle. I don't like saddle. I go back to the back take. Yeah? So play with all the dilemmas and try to add the saddle at the end, or the back take at the end, just for fun. Make sense? Go! Cool, so that's a lot of information in 1 hour. It's not a 1 hour long class, right? This is like, I just taught this in Ireland and we spent like 6 hours on it, you know? And so the goal was to give you guys broad brush strokes you guys can play with all week and problem solve. Use it gi, use it no gi. But the reality is, like, the overwhelming concept for me is understanding this game of dilemmas, right? We have to pose this dilemma to our opponents. Our jiu-jitsu can't always be super linear. Like we're taught in like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of like, I have a plan, I will do it no matter what. All right, that's just kind of an old school way of thinking, all right? So the new school way is more, I can give you an option, option A, option B, option C. My job is to have a positive outcome in all three options, right? So thank you guys for your time. We're gonna be here all week, so you guys can ask me questions, we can play, we can roll for leg locks, we can roll for whatever, it's fine. I made a meetup just this morning at 1 o'clock for open mat. We're gonna take this orange wrestling ring for under 70 kilo people. And so fatties, stay away. So please join us. It's cool to have all the small people together. We don't often have a chance to roll with high-level small people or women together. And so, I'm sorry? 155. There you go. Oh yeah, I'm on the scale for sure. Good luck, Mark. So, can we get a quick picture real quick? Everyone come onto the banner, please. Thank you so much.